Harvard was designed by North American Aviation in California in the mid to late 30s. Canada first received theirs in 1939, the Mark I, which was an earlier fabric-covered fuselage, and the most numerous used during the war was the Mark II Harvard, which is a all-metal covered. They were kind of the workhorse of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan for training. Mostly it was fighter pilots that would start off with the elementary trainers, the Tiger Moth or the Finch or the Cornell, and if they were selected for single pilot aircrew that would eventually go on to the Spitfire, the Mustang, what have you, they would be trained on the Harvard.
Canada has a very vast history as far as in World War II for the British Commonwealth Training Program, where they trained over 120,000 aircrew to help support World War II efforts, the Allied efforts here in Canada. So that was Canada's great contribution in World War II.
The Harvard from the get-go was designed to be a harder aircraft to fly than the fighters. They're a lot more finicky, trickier to fly, but if you can master the Harvard, then it was like driving your grandma's Standard down to a automatic sports car.
All pilots in World War II had trained in the Harvard aircraft before they flew the Spitfire or Hurricane or any of the Mustang or any of the aircraft you see out there, the frontline fighters. But so everyone, that's why they have a love for the Harvard aircraft, because that was their first girlfriend, basically, back in those times.
They built them also here in Canada during the war in Montreal by Nordyne Aviation, who built the Norseman bush plane as well. It is the most produced aircraft in Canadian history, close to 2,000 or over 2,000 that were built in Canada. The Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association, it started back up at Woodstock in 1985. There was 4 privately owned Harvards based at Woodstock at the time.
3 gentlemen who wanted to preserve and maintain the Harvard aircraft and fly for personal reasons themselves, but they realized they had a diamond in the rough, and they started the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association at that time, displaying and demonstrating the aircraft across Ontario. But they became quite iconic, and one of them actually called Mr. Harvard, Glenn Fallowfield, and he wanted to continue the growth of the organization. They progressed and moved to Tillsonburg, Ontario, to kind of put a pin in the map as far as making a formal organization.
When we started, we were 4 privately owned airplanes. Now we have 8 aircraft that are owned by the association, 8 Harvards plus a North American Yale that we restored ourselves.
The main mission for the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association is multifaceted. We have a very large organization. We have a very rich history of people who have come through and associated themselves with the organization. Our initial mission was to display and demonstrate aircraft of the British Commonwealth Air Training Program to commemorate what the people had done back in those days to help us realize the freedoms we have today, and also the intestinal fortitude that they had to leave their homes at 18 years old and serve their country and what have you. But we've really become a community-based organization because we have a very multifaceted organization. We have actually scuba divers involved in the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association that look for research of aircraft in World War II in the local Great Lakes and go on dive missions to help recover aircraft. We have a historical aviation group for people in aviation history and just general World War II history. We have maintenance programs as well that we have to maintain and not only demonstrate these aircraft, but maintain them as well. So we have a great program. We've had lots of alumni who've left our care and control to become mechanics and aviation professionals and for pilots and what have you. So we're very, very lucky and blessed to be able to boast that experience in the community. We have people who just generally want to volunteer and help promote and serve and commemorate what people have done as far as the veterans. So we're quite a multifaceted organization and touch many aspects of our local community in Oxford County.
We're all volunteer. There's no paid staff here. We currently have 4 flyable. We should have 5, a 5th one online this year. But we do it through offering backseat rides or air show appearances or flyovers or what have you, that we just try and keep the memory alive. It's one thing to look at an airplane dusty in a museum and you can't get the full experience, whereas you can strap in the back seat of one of these and see Southern Ontario from the air is a really neat experience.